Very nice.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Mac Yak 117.
We made it.
I can't believe I'm actually that excited. Oh my lord! Somebody
Someone
shoot
had
me
really
now.
Too much fun making that intro.
So
it was the first time we'd seen that. So
yeah,
we
I'd like to thank Steve for revamping the intro screen for us. I asked for the unimplemented trap, and he took it a little further because everybody needs an unimplemented trap on her old Mac.
Of course.
So
That's what makes an old Mac.
how is everybody doing this evening?
Audio sounds good.
Holy crap!
Oh, already doing better than
I'm having a heart attack!
See, he's gone and we have no problem.
Holy
you
crap!
have an
I actually
announcement to
did it
make?
right. I'm impressed. So is everybody
So
a
yeah,
guest?
he's not with us tonight.
What's that?
I said GT's not with
I
us tonight.
know.
We should probably let everyone know
We
why.
can-
Yeah, he had to do something like moving or something.
I don't know.
stupid.
We kicked him off. We
Yeah.
got tired of listening to him.
Yeah.
It's relocating his domicile.
Yeah. So I am going to
He
be.
finally gets a room to put all his Mac stuff in.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be
That's
nice.
exciting.
So I'm going to be doing this for I think 3 weeks. So
3 weeks.
yeah,
Oh, we're going to
Lucky
take in
me.
turns, aren't we?
Well, I don't know. If you guys want to do it, go ahead. Steve said he didn't want to do it.
I don't have the bandwidth to, but
I'll do it next time or one of them. I don't care.
I don't know. I might actually start doing this full time because then I'd actually be useful. Instead of sitting in the background falling asleep like I did last week. Oh,
But that's part of the entertainment.
Insert
Yeah, that's
screenshot
right.
here.
I can have
Sure,
some people here show up to watch you sleep.
well, hey,
Yeah, they take bets on how long it's going to
at
take.
least I have some entertainment value. So
And of course, we have Madeleine back for the fourth time.
I think.
Fourth
Third time?
It's time now.
Yes,
5.
5.
At least
Five.
somebody's paying attention.
yes, Matt.
Do you have another story tonight?
I do have a story to tell, actually.
Okay, cool. I forgot to make an overlay for that.
We don't need an overlay.
That's all right.
Oh, I'll just slip it in somewhere.
Okay.
That's what... No, I won't say that.
Not when we're live.
So we have very little news. We have this much news and this much Apple event stuff. So I hope you guys are strapped in for the long haul because I'm sure with Steve, we're probably going to be here all night.
I'll talk real fast, I promise.
Sounds about right.
So
we are getting some comments here with some people saying echo chamber. Another person said Mike is like screaming.
I did turn
So
my
Mike,
mic
stop screaming.
down a little bit. My mic was a little hot.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, cool, banana.
When I tested it earlier, I didn't have it as close as I do now, so that's probably why.
So Trina doesn't have an echo. Michael Mullet has an echo. Trina doesn't have an echo.
Okay.
And Logan, I will
Earlier.
I said
will
you were
try my
doing
best
better than
not to fall
GT,
asleep
but I
while
might have to
sleeping,
take that
while
back.
I'm streaming.
I hear a very faint echo with Jay, but it might just be you not using headphones.
Oh, my headphones are in the garage.
Well, look, I look at it
Why
this
are
way.
they?
There's no major issues. We're just going to roll with it, okay?
Yep, that works.
So,
Yeah, we're all good with that.
Yeah.
We'll let GT fix up the audio
So
stream.
Steve,
Yeah.
I'm the producer tonight. Steve is really going to be the leader. So I am going
Oh,
to
great.
I'm going to turn it over to Steve because he's the one that typed this 3,000.5 page notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the news.
Alrighty.
Should he
So-
really?
And now the news.
And now with the news, we go live to Steve Macyak for the news
Now, if I
announcements.
can figure out how to actually do this.
We don't need overlays. Not that
Yeah,
fast.
we can do the news until the overlay is there.
Okay.
That's
So ransomware leaks and Apple Care Plus for the news tonight. To Steve.
Yes. So, so this was actually quite interesting. It's the first time that I've seen a leak that actually is like plans for a future product and not just a rumor or something. I'll put the link in the chat here. So this is from 9to5Mac, and apparently a ransomware attack has taken place on one of Apple's providers. I guess they're one of their industry groups or manufacturers or whatever. And so ransomware is a simple concept. Basically, hey, we encrypted all your data, we copied it, we did whatever with it. You can't get it back until you pay us X amount of money. You're supposed to pay them, they're supposed to unlock it. Nobody really ever does because, yeah. And you should have a backup of anything anyway. But anyhow, what's interesting in this is we've been hearing for a little while about MagSafe connectors on MacBooks or a new MacBook that has more ports and everything. And if you look at the article, and you have to scroll down a little bit, and there are these black and white renders. If you look at the second and third one, there's some interesting details there. So there's an iMac that looks very much like the one that we just got, and so that's the first image. The second image is more iMac stuff, including the power port and everything. And then the third image is what looks like the top housing of a MacBook. And you see there's an HDMI port, or what looks like an HDMI port. And then it looks like there's an SD card slot there. So who knows exactly, what model this is for or anything like that. But it seems to be that at least there's some, proof in the pudding here of some more functionality and ports on these MacBooks that are coming. So I don't know, I think that's kind of interesting. I'm not really surprised because it's probably like the number one complaint that people have been doing, but so have you guys any thoughts on that or no?
Sorry, I was wondering why the Google moderator team deleted my link.
Yeah, I was curious about that myself.
It's because you're a racist.
Oh,
It's because you copied my link.
I pasted it first. I have no. I mean, of course, it sounds too good to be true. I mean, they're bringing back ports. What?
Yeah.
That's not very like
That's
Apple,
very-
but
yeah.
I hope it's. I hope the leak is
Genuine.
I mean, judging by these images, I
That's definitely the new iMac. I mean,
yeah, it would be. Let me just say, it would be a lot of work for somebody to reproduce this so shortly after that event.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it's not
Really?
impossible. But
I don't know. I could sit down for 15 minutes with Photoshop and do it. I just don't
And
know.
now we know who's behind the leak.
yeah, okay, never mind. We could disregard that.
It was Dana Sabera. She
Yeah.
did it.
Google moderator team deleted my link again. What the hell?
They don't like it, Jay. Just
What
don't
is going on?
don't jinx it. You're gonna be like disappearing from our Skype in 5 minutes. So, yeah, all right. That was the first thing. So I just thought that was interesting. The second, and I'm curious if this is going to be corrected because the story has not been updated, but this was just posted on Wednesday. So the second story is that someone on Mac Rumors noticed that usually you have the Apple Care Plus coverage that basically extends your 1 year of coverage to a total of 3 years. And as most of us know, if you buy Apple Care, once you reach that 3 year mark, that's it. You can't renew Apple Care any further. That's all. You can't go any further. Apparently,
I put the link in the chat, but you might want to do it because mine is probably going to get deleted.
Well, Steve's link showed up.
yeah,
I know.
it likes me.
So I don't know why. Yeah, there you go.
We'll just put that there. Maybe I'll get removed too. But anyway, the idea here is now that you could actually extend that Apple Care Plus for another 2 years, it seems. Now, I don't know if anyone's actually done this yet, but it's just reported on the fine print of the support document there. So I think it's very interesting. I mean, obviously, as Apple stuff becomes all soldered on even furthermore as it has been, I think it's a nice option, I guess, to have, especially if you're going to shell out. Oh, geez, that's fun. Yeah. Anyway, we can't paste links in, but yeah, well, you can do Googling. But yeah,
on?
that's it. I'll stop talking.
So, how is there a limit? Like, can you just keep paying until it's vintage or obsolete, or can you go until it's obsolete?
That's what I'd like to know, because Apple does have that cutoff, which you're mentioning, Jay, is they classify a product as vintage or obsolete. They no longer support it. I'm assuming that if they're allowing you to do this once, you could probably do it until that classification of your product has been changed. But
Well, I think part of this is part of Apple's response to the right to repair movement, because these new machines, this new iMac that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, is basically totally unrepairable, just from the looks of it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I haven't actually touched one, but I'd almost be willing to bet that it's completely non-repairable. The iPhone 12 is pretty much classified as 100% non-repairable, with the exception of the battery. So, I mean, it's great that they're offering the extended coverage. I'm kind of curious to see what exactly the provisions of the extra coverage are, though, because
Yeah, I think it's probably just an extension of you're paying this much and you still get the accidental damage and everything is just covered for an additional period of time. That's just an assumption, though. I mean, this could all just be somebody updating the wrong document, and Apple comes out and resolves this. But
Yeah. By the way, Mike, when you started leaning back, people were no longer able to hear you.
how about now?
Just sit up, Mike.
Sorry, my
Sounds the
back,
same to me
my
on
back
Skype.
hurts,
I
so
don't know.
I've got my massage chair on.
Mm.
now to the news.
And there's a quantum singularity on the desk behind you.
It looks that way, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh,
One of the cats.
I mean,
is gonna
I
jump
guess
out of
it's
that
good.
portal.
It
I think
means
its TARDIS
that,
is about to pop through it.
if they keep going until something is vintage, my Mac Pro would have been supported up until last year if
Yeah.
I
Mm.
believed in Apple Care.
Mhm.
So that's, I guess it's better than nothing.
I mean, honestly, if I'm gonna get whether it's a Mac Mini or an iMac or whatever that everything is soldered on, I'm gonna get the Apple Care because just like we've been hearing about this
Well, yeah, because you can't fix it.
yeah, the SSD being like overworked because it doesn't have enough memory and all this crap. If you can't open it up and fix it, I'll pay a little bit more for the warranty, knowing that when it screws up, I can go to Apple and go, give me a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, you're
that's
almost gonna
probably
have
their
to.
intent, but
Yeah.
that's probably their intent by making these things soldered on and all that. But
Unfortunately, yeah.
so be it.
So yeah,
We're not going to get it to go back the other way. That's for sure.
Yeah. Anybody who was holding their breath for memory slots and removable storage on a entry level machine made by Apple is
Yeah.
a little bit silly.
Yeah, but the thing that I keep coming back to is these are entry level machines.
Yes.
And by their very nature, they're a consumer appliance. So you've got to look at it that way. It doesn't mean that I like it. Doesn't mean that I don't like being able to upgrade a
Fix the video,
reasonably
Mike.
expensive machine that
There
I
you go.
buy.
That was cool.
Sorry, man.
It's all good.
So
Before
if
we
one of
move
us
on
disables our
to-
camera for a second,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
every
just-
time.
just
it's
do
good
this.
with everything.
So don't do it.
Before we move on onto the topics, I just wanted to just add a little sort of news article here. It's very, very quick, but Apple has just recently updated their landing page to say that they're carbon neutral, which they've said, and they've said that by 2030, every product you love will be carbon neutral as well. How it's designed, how it's made, how it's shipped, how it's used, how it's recycled. Apple has a plan. There's
Good,
a
I
little
don't
video
care.
and everything there if you want to watch it. I'm sure it's fascinating. But I just thought that was worth mentioning because that's just something that's landed on their webpage today or tonight, whatever. That they are sort of, and of course we will touch on this when we get into the sort of the products from the Apple event. But of course they are really pushing that green attitude, that sort of they're trying to let everyone know that they are environmentally friendly, which of course we will completely totally dispel shortly.
Action Retro says biodegradable Macs, but if you leave a battery in there long enough, they do degrade
Yeah.
pretty
And
well,
how?
I would say.
Never put your iMac out in the rain; it will melt.
I'm just a little sad on the environment page. They have a timeline of iMacs. And they have the iMac G3, and then they jump straight to the frickin' G5. Like, what the? Come on.
What?
Yeah.
Not the one I saw. They had the iMac G4 in there.
Don't
maybe-
even tell me.
Maybe my page isn't wide enough, and they have fancy code that expands it. But it says iMac brings us closer to net zero.
Yeah, I don't believe a word of all that. We're green and we're carbon neutral, and just
I mean,
just
even
Tim
if
Cook
it's true,
in his opening speech, produced more carbon than it's such nonsense.
even if it's true, I don't care. Just make computers that work well. I don't care.
yeah,
I can go to a recycling, and recycle a computer when I'm done with it if I want to. But whatever.
Unless they're recycling the used computers to me, I don't really mind. I think that's all of our assessments on this. So.
All right, where is this timeline at?
All right.
You're talking about just that picture that had 4 IMAX on it? Is that what you're referring to?
that's
yeah, they missed a few in there, didn't they?
Yeah.
They kind of condensed it down. I remember the one they showed in the keynote had all of them.
Yes, that had all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I guess on to the topics, Mike.
All right. Well, here's the number one topic for the night. Apple had an event.
Did
And
they?
of course, we didn't watch it.
I did.
God.
I did.
We skimmed through it. You know.
I watched
Now, I
it.
actually watched it.
Better than
and
work.
I will say I only fell asleep for maybe 15 minutes of it. So,
Yeah,
Wow. High
I
praise.
played the whole thing. I didn't watch the whole thing because I did fall asleep a few times.
Yeah.
so see,
I
I'm
had
not the
it.
only one.
I had it in a window while I was working. So
So, Steve, are these notes actually in the order in which they appeared on the Apple event?
heck no.
Oh,
But
because I did fall asleep at the end. I'm trying to figure out what I missed, and I know I missed the announcement about the Mac Mini.
yeah,
Ethernet.
that there was not an announcement on that. So that was
okay.
a thing that. So a lot of these things, some of these things that we're going to go over in this list either were sort of little text marks in the keynote that you blinked and you missed them, or they were things that were on Apple's page or things that came out via news articles after. So
Okay.
we're not going to tell you about the Apple event because everyone's seen the stupid thing. What I wanted to go over is some of the little minor details that you may have missed or things that weren't made clear until after the keynote was over and people started asking questions. Okay, so
Well, I think the first thing that needs to be addressed, since the first thing we're going to discuss is the iMac, is who wants a new pastel-colored iMac?
All right,
I always want new
let me
stuff, but I'm
just
not gonna
be
buy one.
negative Nancy here. Why the hell does an iMac, a desktop computer, get a MagSafe power cord?
Oh,
But the
I
laptops
know
do
that
not.
was the first thing that. Oh my God!
What kind of ridiculous stuff
You
were
know-
they smoking?
I think the main reason why something like this ends up happening is not because they're trying to dazzle us with some some awesome new ingenuity or something like that. It's because they've made this thing so absurdly thin that there's not enough space to have a connector actually stick into the thing.
That's
so they've
true.
had to make it so that it magnetizes
Yeah.
to the back
Yeah.
because there's no room.
Well, they had
for
to move
anything
the
else.
audio port to the side because it didn't have room to go on the back anymore.
That's right. That's
So,
right. And
which
this
I
is,
kind of actually like it there.
yeah.
yeah, it's probably a more logical.
It makes more
place for
sense
it,
on the sides, definitely.
So, I mean, still got quite a few questions about the thing. We really want to see bench tests and everything like that. But
Ooh.
yes, that is.
Sure.
Congratulations, Apple. That is one obscenely thin computer.
It's an iPad
Yeah.
on the stand.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
it is.
I've got to tell you, I bought an iMac New in 2011 to use as a desktop machine for some reason or another. And the thing that annoyed me most about it was the USB ports on the back of the machine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stand it. You've got this thing sitting on your desk and you're reaching behind trying to stick USBs in, which are
It's a turn it on its
always
side.
the
Yeah.
wrong way around.
Yeah.
It was an iMac.
Yeah. If no matter if I get a mini or an iMac, I'm gonna have to get a dock of some kind because there's no way I'm gonna
Yeah.
reach around it. That I had the same trouble with my 2011 iMac. 3 USB ports in a row. Whenever I'd go to blind do it, I'd stick it in the FireWire port or something stupid.
Yeah.
That's what. No.
That's been
One of the
thorn
things
in
I
the
got.
side of-
I don't have an iMac. My wife does, and I got one of those USB extenders. It sticks in the USB, comes out the bottom, and you got your ports in the front. It's one of the best purchases I've ever done for her.
Yeah, but
But it's more of that thing that we've talked about before. It's like the same with the laptops that have so few connectors on them. It's all very well for Apple to say, hey, look how thin this thing is. But it's not going to be thin for long because people are going to have to connect docks to it and stuff like that because there's a totally inadequate amount of I/O on these things.
Do you remember 2013, the Trash Can Pro was announced, and people were like, oh, no cables, no nothing. And then you got these, I'll call them
No, it
memes.
was more like, ooh, no cables, no nothing.
Yeah, and then you because of the lack of ports, you had ports, but you only had one type of port.
Right.
You had these memes come out with external drives stacked up this high, screens, and the mess of cables you end up with once you finally connect everything you want to connect. It looks way worse than a cheese grater Mac Pro by the time you're done.
I'm sure there's going to be, the people are already probably working on it, a way, you know, how we saw the mini stacks, you know, the little hard drive things with the docks and the ports and everything that go right under a Mac Mini. I'm sure someone's going to do that. That goes on top of the pedestal stand or right below it, and it's going to be color matching, and it's going to have a flashlight in and all whatever the heck.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of color matching stuff coming out, isn't there? We've all been there before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's half the fun.
As usual with all of these new products, the one thing that I always say about it, because there are so many people that jump on the forums and go, "Oh, it doesn't do this, doesn't do that, I hate it," blah, blah, blah. And the same attitude that I have with this, that I have with most of these products that Apple release. If you don't like it, it wasn't made for you. These things will sell. I mean, they are definitely going to sell. People, I think, are going to like the colors. They're going to like the thinness, you know, and they are going to sell a buttload of these things.
Yeah, if I was an educator and I had to fill a room with 20 computers and I had to choose Macs, am I going to choose the Mac Mini, or am I going to have to buy a display? I have to get, you know, an external headset or speakers or a webcam. No, I'm just going to just get them all iMacs.
I love the colors of the new iMacs on the back. I hate the colors in the front.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I really want to wait to see them in person. I mean, I'm not buying anything until after WWDC because who knows what the heck they're coming out with then. But I'm very curious to see how it looks in person, because I've seen some of the iPhone colors on their ads, and then I saw them at like a store. And I'm like, oh, okay, that actually doesn't look bad, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've got to tell you, I miss the Apple logo on the chin.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're going to have the chin, you might as well have the logo.
Yeah, if you're not going to use it for branding, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm curious if they got rid of they probably did, the infrared sensor that you could use to be able to control it with a remote. I guess nobody cares about that anymore.
Yeah. The thing is that Apple, as we know, Apple do product placement in so many television shows and movies, and have done since the beginning. And to have a product like that, which is so, you know, sort of kind of iconic, I guess, and then to not have their branding on it seems really odd, because this thing's going to turn up in TV and movies in the future. We know it. And it's not going to have the Apple logo on the front, which is just really odd.
Maybe you could personalize it and put your own logo on the front. I'm just going to put a rainbow sticker on the front.
I'm not reading the notes, by the way, so I might be skipping over stuff, but no more 21-inch. Great, because that was a sucky size to begin with, but why 24? Why not just go straight to 27?
I think the 24 is the new low end. We're not seeing only a 24-inch model. They're going to come up with a 27 or a 30. Yeah. They might call it the iMac Pro or whatever, but I think where they had a distinction in the past between, hey, we're going to offer a 15-inch and a 17-inch, we're going to offer this, I think that they're sort of done with that. I think what they're doing is they're saying this is the one form factor for the lower end folks. And we're going to redo the iMac Pro, and that's going to be, you know, a bigger screen. I think Apple's trying to very much streamline how many sizes and different things they have to manufacture. The argument would probably hold more water if they didn't nix 2 USB ports off of the low-end model. But I mean, I think it's just
and Ethernet
temporary. Yeah, and Ethernet on the power brick of the thing. So
I mean, it's 24-inch, it's 4.5K or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very high res screen. So we're talking about, in terms of the actual resolution, it's a really, really good screen, albeit a 24-inch. Yeah. But I think, again, for the market this is going out to, the 27-inch taking up more space on the desk, whatever, I think the 24 meets the requirement of the sort of people that are going to be wanting to buy this sort of thing.
Yeah. And I did the math, because I was looking at, all right, if, let's say, the CPU is clocked the same as the Mac Mini and they're identically the same machine or whatever, the cost of you to find a 4.5K display, which you can't easily do, and then you count into the cost of the speakers, a webcam, and a bunch of other things that are built into the machine, it's about the same price, but you're also getting the convenience of it being all in one package. Now, that's a good and a bad thing, because the component dies or whatever, you know, you got to swap it out or whatnot. But I mean, there's pros and cons to it, and if it's a machine that's going to be suited for you, fine. If not, well, You know what? They could buy it.
I was
And of course, the
watching,
one-
go ahead.
I was just very quickly going to say the one thing that we still have no idea about, although we might know the specs, we might know the number of cores, we do not know the speed of this thing.
Right.
And a lot of people are making the assumption that this thing is going to be the same speed as what we've seen so far because, it's the same number of cores, it's the same M1 chip. But as Jay pointed out, this thing's got 2 fans on it, which means that this thing is almost definitely going to run hotter, which means it's almost definitely going to do more, have more power. So I think we're actually going to see that this thing is going to be faster than what's out there. And so therefore, for people that are just sort of saying, oh, I could just get an iMac, so get a Mac Mini and stick a screen on it, I don't think that's going to hold water once we start seeing some benchmarks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm very
I always
curious
wait
to
for
see
the
those.
benchmarks. I was watching Snazzy Labs' latest video, and he's pretty confident also that later this year they'll probably have a larger screen, like a 27-inch or maybe a 30-inch. Who knows? But
Yeah, my money's on 30 or 32. I
you
reckon.
think?
Yeah.
And
Well,
from
if that
a
happens, I want it to be curved.
well, from a selling standpoint, I think one could argue much better from 24 to 30 than 24 to 27 because you say, oh, it's just a few inches, but when the size is that different, I think that
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah,
Hey.
we need a bell. Ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to go through these pretty
Uh-oh.
quickly. These are just little tidbits that we figured out for the iMac.
Stream is buffering.
Yeah, we'd be buffering.
Well, that's not us.
I
Mike,
clicked
how
on
many
live
drop
and it
frames
went
we
back.
got?
Yeah, it's fine now.
I would say it's YouTube, not me.
That's the Google moderation team messing
Yep,
with us.
there you
They're
go.
moderating.
Blame it on the moderation team.
So some of the iMac things that I noticed. So I'm just going to go through these as a bulleted list. So the base model, there are 3 models. There's low, medium, high. They're just spec'd out slightly differently. However, the base model lacks 2 of the USB 3.0 ports. So you still have the Thunderbolt and USB 4 ports or whatever they're calling them, but or USB whatever. You just are lacking the 2 3.0 ports in that USB-C style. So 2 less ports. As we mentioned, there is a headphone jack. It's on the left side of the unit. I noticed that as soon as they showed the image of the thing, I'm like, I bet that's a headphone jack, and I hope it is. I hope it's not a power button. And that was that. There, you can add Ethernet to the low end one. It's only $30 extra, so that's actually not really that bad. So
Yeah, that's not bad.
I'm sort of shocked how reasonable that is, but okay.
I
Except
still
for the
think
fact
that
that it's
eventually-
2021, it should be standard.
Yeah, but I guess
Well,
if
it
you're,
should
if
be,
you're-
and it
if you're
has
a
been.
school if you're a school with like Wi-Fi 6 or you have all this fancy nodes everywhere, maybe you don't need it. But I think putting it on the power brick, I could sort of see the argument for that because then you're not shipping Ethernet in a machine for people who aren't going to use
I
it.
would
But
just-
then,
I would like the power brick to be an option for the low end machine for the $12.99 machine.
what do you mean?
Where you can order the one that doesn't come with Ethernet and then as far as I know, I haven't seen the store, but can you add that as an option to it?
Yes.
Or
so
is it just wireless nonetheless? No matter.
no. It's $30 extra on the. So the base model
So
does.
you
not,
can add it to the smaller.
You can
Okay,
add
all
it
right.
for $30. Yeah, that's. I'm sorry if I read that weirdly, but that's the functionality of that. So a lot of us were a little concerned that the RAM limit was only 8 gigabytes, but you can, just like the other ones, upgrade it to 16. You're going to pay $200.
Can.
But you
Okay.
can. So that's a bit of a nice thing. Well, you pay for it, so I guess that's not that nice. But
But
No,
the
it's just an
16 is as high as it'll go,
the
right?
16 is as high as it'll go. No 32
Okay.
or anything like that at this point. And then what's interesting that Mac Rumors found out that the yellow, orange, and purple colors are limited to the middle and higher models only. So
Yeah.
maybe it costs a few more dollars for that. Who knows? I don't understand why. And then the last thing about the iMac, the entry-level iMacs, the $12.99 ones or whatever the price is, they do not come with the Touch ID keyboard. But if you wanted it with the Touch ID functionality, you have to add the $50. So again, sort of cheaping out on the low-end model there.
But at least it's an option.
But it's an option there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think most people, if they want Ethernet, they want the Touch ID, they're just going to get the one model up and save a few bucks. So that's the tidbits for the iMac. Anybody want to talk about that a little bit before we move on to the next product?
Yeah.
So
Well, I
on
did
the,
wanna-
on the
sorry.
Touch ID business, are we talking there's required functionality in the iMac, or is it just a different keyboard?
So it's a different keyboard. There's no required functionality in the iMac because everything's built into the M1 chip. But Apple has said apparently that the Touch ID functionality will only work on M1 based Macs. So if you plug it into an iPad or an older Mac, the keyboard will work, just not that Touch ID button.
Yeah, okay. All right, so the additional $50 that you're paying is just for a different keyboard?
Yeah.
Sorry, Bruce.
No, that's all right. The only thing I also wanted to mention was, of course, the chin, because there have been a few people that have complained about the chin. I've never had an issue with the chin on the iMac, ever. But, of course, as I mentioned before, with the thing barely being thicker than the LCD screen inside it, if they were to take away the chin and have the computer with the I/O ports, you would have to have a lump at the back.
Yeah.
So, if the trade-off is you either have the thing with a chin or you have it without a chin and a lump at the back.
But
Yeah, that's right. It would need to have a butt. So, I mean, I don't understand why people get so thingy about the chin. I've never ever had an issue with the chin. Even
we all have them.
my Samsung screen has a chin. So, but yeah, with how thin they've made things, I just don't think people appreciate just how ridiculously thin this thing is. There's really no choice but for it to have a chin.
Yeah, and that was kind of the point that I was saying in my video that I've released on this thing. I was like, it's not one of the things that I really care about. The thing looks very small and very fit and tiny and everything. I mean, I was joking in the video I did with the Mac Classic and the iMac, or the SE rather. Like that's bezels. That's thick bezels. I mean, come on. It just doesn't. Yeah. I don't get it.
I missed the last few minutes. I had to go help out. But I'm thinking, if you made the Mac so thin that you have no space for ports, meaningful ports, and then someone in your team that should get an effing promotion decides to put Ethernet on the power brick, why not put a bunch of other stuff on the power brick?
It's a very valid point. Stick 10 other ports on the power brick.
Make the power brick square so that it sits under the foot of the iMac, and just put all your ports in there.
Well, I think we're going to see plenty of accessory makers doing a lot of just that.
Yeah, $55 starting price for one extra USB port, going up to $600 from OWC that breaks after a week. No, just build it in there.
Oh no, I'm all for.
From an engineering point of view, exactly how much they can. We know they can put Ethernet through that port at the back. Can they theoretically put, a sort of a USB port on the power brick as well? Is that even technically possible with the way they've made that little lightning connector?
Yeah. I'm wondering if what are they piping through that power brick? Is it just like USB? And that's all it is. And they got a USB to Ethernet adapter at the end of it.
Yeah, it would be cool if it has a little clear tube for liquid cooling.
No, that's where you're pumping all the RGB lights, Jay.
No comment.
I've got to tell you, I really do like the idea of getting connections off the desk, because as you were saying, Jay, I've got the 2013 Mac Pro sitting on mine, and I just have world-o cables on this desk. I've got a USB hub sitting there, but I've got I've got all of the lightning ports taken up. I've got all of the USB ports taken up.
Jeez.
And
yeah,
it doesn't look quite that bad.
In that.
I'm still here.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I said he probably has mice living in that.
No, just rabbits. But no, I would be thrilled to have something like that on my desk too, Madeleine, like an iMac with all the cables and everything hidden, because I could put a scanner on this desk and scan things, but right now the Mac Pro Tower is taking up all the space. So, it's just... Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have a bunch of external drives and crap plugged in, but it's going to be a little bit less.
Yeah.
All right, so there are 2 points I want to touch on the iPad Pro. So during the announcement, we saw the iPad Pro. It's all this fancy business, got a new screen, all that fun stuff. What you may not have seen is that there are actually memory options that Apple is actually announcing for the first time. You always probably saw on Mac rumors and stuff, whenever a new iPhone came out, whenever a new iPad came out, we never had how much RAM was in there. It was always sort of a hidden thing. You had to do a Geekbench test, and you had to wait for this stuff to come out. But now Apple has it on their spec page. So the lower end iPad Pro has 8 gigabytes of memory.
Uh-oh. I didn't do it. I just covered my camera.
We're back.
So the lower end iPad has 8 gigabytes of memory, but the higher end one has 16 gigabytes of memory. So very interesting. Obviously, it's using the same M1 chip. So I just thought that was curious.
And here,
a lot of memory for an iPad.
Yeah, well, here we go with the iPad memory. Now you don't get to choose how much memory. You either get 8 or 16 gigs depending on how you configure it.
You either get the 13-inch model with the 16 or 11 point whatever with the 8.
So the iPad is basically going to end up it's going to be. I have a feeling that the next MacBook is just basically going to be an iPad with a keyboard. The way they're going with that much power in a tablet and iPad. Yeah. The iPad Pros have always been very powerful tablets. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a first gen iPad Pro, and that's actually still very powerful for being, oh my gosh, 5 years old, almost 6 years old now. So
I mean, you're Apple is definitely blurring the lines between a MacBook and an iPad because you got the same processor in there, same exact processor. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that Apple has been You can't tell me rather.
Oh, no,
Apple has not been experimenting with running the full-fledged Mac OS.
I guarantee they have.
Yeah.
It makes sense because the current iPad Pros have 6 or 8 gigs of memory, and they are animals. They run just about anything. So imagine an iPad Pro with 16 gigs.
Yep.
That is crazy.
As soon as the iPad Pro came out, I said, this suggests to me that they are eventually going to try and replace the laptop line with a tablet, which you can add a keyboard to or whatever else you want to do. And every iteration of that particular model ever since just shows me they're getting closer and closer to doing that. And basically what you have now is an iMac, which is a giant tablet on a stand that you can plug a keyboard into. So why would they not want to eventually, transition their Pro tablet series into a replacement for a laptop?
Yeah, and the first thing I thought when I saw the new iMac, said, okay, this is an iPad on a stand. And I'm not putting money on it, but I'm willing to bet, let's say a chocolate chip cookie, that when Bruce woke up, poured his coffee, took his shower, sat down at his desk, and started watching, he saw the same things. That iPad on a stand. Does it have touch screen? Did you? You were hoping for it, weren't you?
Well, I mean, it actually enables them to kind of solve, sort of to respond to that complaint that people have had without officially responding to it. It's like, you want a touchscreen on a laptop. It's like, well, we're never going to give you that, but we will give you an iPad that's as good as a laptop. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you pay for the trackpad and keyboard stand and everything, it's just as expensive as a laptop too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yep, that's right.
And the other thing, I know you guys don't really follow the PC world, but the Microsoft has the Surface, which is basically a tablet that has been turned into a laptop, or can be turned into a laptop. And I truthfully think that's where Apple's going with this, because believe it or not, the Surface, the latest Surface, has actually become quite a popular item, and they're selling very well. So,
well, I mean, if you have an iPad with a keyboard and trackpad attachment to it, like the official Folio type thing Apple sells, it's very similar to the form factor of a Surface.
But also, and you would appreciate this, Steve. Now, you have your ThinkPad, okay, your X800 which is a convertible that
X201,
the 201 that turns into a tablet, and that's another thing. That's one market that Apple has not actually encroached on is trying to make a convertible laptop / tablet combo, where this here is the first step towards that. So
yeah, I think with Photoshop coming on the iPad,
Yeah.
and the pencil and the M1 chip and everything, I think that Apple is sort of getting away from we don't have to build this functionality into a laptop per se, because it's on the iPad and it could do all of those things. So I think that's their temporary thing. I think we're going to see some interesting new products from them in the next few years, especially now that everything is going to have the same chips. I'm sure the iPhones are eventually going to have the same type of functionality at one point. So everything is going to run over. I mean, everything basically already runs on the same types of chips with the M1 Max coming out. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the operating systems evolve. And I think they're always going to be separate, but I'm curious if there's going to be like a Mac OS mode on the iPad.
At the rate things are kind of going here, I'm starting to wonder if Apple's not thinking about doing away with OS, with the desktop OS. I think in the near future. I mean, I have a feeling, because especially with OS 11, the way they have the iOS and the Mac OS integrated together as tightly as they do now, I have a sneaking suspicion that we may end up seeing the desktop OS kind of fade away.
Yeah, but
I'm going to argue with that one.
Yeah.
I really don't know, because I use my iPad Pro a lot.
Yeah.
And I have the Folio with it, which doesn't have a trackpad on it. And I got to tell you, iOS is just not there quite yet if you're using it with external devices, because you still have to touch the screen for stuff. Mm-hmm. So you'll be typing and, you'll get a dialog box on the screen. You've got to touch the screen. It's a bit awkward. It's not great.
You'll get to fatigue very quickly when you have a 24-inch screen. You're like, I have to. I think the interface and the functionality standpoint is very different for now.
Yeah.
Maybe at one time they'll merge them, but
I think as long as they keep making computers that sit on a desktop, like your iMacs, like your Mac Pro, they're going to have a more fully featured, or at least maybe they'll upgrade iOS to run concurrently, or you have similar features as the standard Mac OS. But I think as long as we've got desktop computers, especially the Mac Pro, especially something that's going to be used in a it's not a mobile device whatsoever, I think we're still going to have the Mac OS as we know it.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did anyone else pick up on something that I'm pretty pleased with, actually? Adobe, at least in the I missed a bunch of minutes where I fell asleep, but Adobe got
uncover your camera so we can yell at you.
Oh, I forgot that's still on there. Sorry. Adobe got one mention. Affinity got a whole bunch of mentions.
They did.
So is Adobe finally losing?
Well, Adobe's
to Affinity?
behind, man. They dropped the ball on this one. Only Photoshop has been updated.
Until now, they haven't been called out for it.
Yeah.
In such a public way. So hopefully this will light a fire under their butt and have
this might be
products.
A little way for Apple to light a fire under their butt and say, hey, look, you've got one app out of your entire flagship creative suite that's been upgraded for our new system, and these guys, this little Infinity, who are they? They've upgraded for it. So what's the matter with you, Adobe?
Come on, do the thing.
What thing?
No, it's Apple to Adobe. Come on, fix it.
Yeah, do the thing.
I guess in Adobe's defense, though, can you imagine how much code is in those applications across their creative
system?
system?
Not Adobe's defense. They have the team, they have the money to do this.
Yeah. They always seem to be really quick with their updates when required. When Apple comes out with something new, and Adobe's like, "Hey, we're right there with you." Well, this time, this is the only time that I can recall in almost 30 years that Adobe has been this far behind on upgrading to a major technology.
They're becoming the next Quark.
When Apple, when Apple transitioned from 68K to PowerPC, Adobe was one of the first companies, and they were just a small company then. Their biggest thing was Photoshop. Yep. They were one of the very first companies that transitioned, and Apple used that as a selling point for their original machines. Once again, when Apple transitioned from PowerPC to Intel in 2006, once again, Adobe was one of the first companies to make sure that they transitioned all their stuff for native Intel code. Now, here in 2021, now, I know they didn't have a lot of notice about these machines, but, I mean, come on, they had at least 6 months.
They get noticed before we do.
I guarantee they had at least 6 months. They probably knew more. They probably knew
at least a year.
They probably knew this was coming before anybody in the world did. And come on,
Yeah, they had to sign an NDA as thick as a tire to do it. But
I guarantee you.
That's nothing new to them, though. They've done it every time.
Yeah. So, and it would be beneficial for them to do it again, because if they rewrite, they have a whole suite, but let's just stick with Photoshop. If they rewrite Photoshop from the ground up for iPad OS, it becomes such an easy port to Mac OS. Yeah. They would have a fast product for all the Apple users again. And now it's like, let me install Photoshop, a 20 gigabyte package full of bugs, instead of, they could just redo it.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised, Jay, if maybe that's what's causing the lag there, because maybe inside of Adobe they may be thinking, well, screw Mac OS, we'll just do an iPad app, and then everybody who has an M1 Mac can use it.
I was also thinking that those programs have just been, it's like, here's your base code, and they've just been piling on it ever since, because every time there's a new update, and it's some of the oldest, buggiest, it's so sluggish code that they all need to be basically rewritten. And I think Photoshop is probably the easiest one for them to rewrite. Maybe that's why it came out first. I don't know. But InDesign definitely, and Illustrator need to be updated, because if you got to rewrite it from the ground up, then so be it. And maybe that's what they're doing. That could be another reason why they're so far behind. But
and if
so, that's a good thing, because it's overdue.
And if that's the reason they're taking so long, then more power to them. I mean, for Adobe to have like the next version, hey, look, everyone, this is like the new version going forward. This is what you start off. You have any legacy files, you could still use the old one, blah, 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 blah. Everyone has a Creative Cloud or these subscription packages anyway. So if you pay for Photoshop, you'll get the legacy version and the current one. It's going to be a pain to manage for some time probably, but if they do that, if they say, hey, look, going forward, this is what we're doing, like they did with Photoshop CS, they redid the PSD extension, like, hey, look, going forward, it's going to support blah, 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 blah. I could see that being a way forward, but no matter what, it's going to piss off a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But,
they're not right, though. It is a bunch of code on top of code on top of old code, on top of even older code.
It's just
and like I said, it takes one to know one, because that's how I managed my website for 10 years. I mean, buy my developer a beer and he'll tell you all about it, what a disaster it was.
Bruce is basically going, we don't need that. And
It's like the first week after we started working together. He's like, okay, so I made some changes. And he leaned my website out by like 600 megabytes. It's like, whoa, okay.
I sent him a little snippet of code. It was like, I don't know, it was a couple of hundred lines long. And I said, this is what was in there, and this is what that same block of code is now. And it was like 5 lines. It did exactly the same thing.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to go through the next few things pretty quickly, and then we could get on to the next topic, and then we could have Madeleine talk about a nice update. How about that?
Okay.
All right,
Good, boss.
All right, cool. So AirTags, just a few things here. They'll work on older iOS devices, but for that precise direction thingy they were showing off, just the iPhone, I think 11 or 12,
11 and 12,
whatever has that.
But it will work on it. They do work on an iPhone 6S and up.
Yep.
So
which is good.
I'm actually surprised with that. So
That means I can get one and not have to worry about it.
Because
once again,
some
Apple's
more.
actually showing a little bit of love for the iPhone 6s, and I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you could only assign up to 16 of these tags per Apple ID. So there's a limit. If the tag is separated for 3 days or more, the tag is going to make an audible noise when it's moved. So if it you lose it somewhere and you stop pinging it, or you forget to look for it, if it's in a couch cushion or whatever and you move, it's going to ding. So that's pretty neat.
Do these things use a standard size battery?
Yes,
you can
they
just
do.
Go to,
Yeah.
Okay,
See
good.
how
We're
it's
getting
032?
at that.
We're getting to that.
Okay.
A lost tag can be read by an NFC-enabled iPhone or an Android device. So if you put the little tag next to your NFC antenna or whatever, it's going to relay the lost information if you put that on there. So if you put your tag in lost mode and said, hey, here's my phone number, call this if you find it, that will show up on there no matter what smartphone you have, which I think is pretty neat. It does have some water resistance there, so IP67. And then what Dana was mentioning before, it actually has, and I know this is Apple we're talking about, so I was shocked to learn this, a user replaceable battery. And I'll say that again, a user replaceable battery. And it's a standard. It's a CR2032 coin cell battery you can get pretty much anywhere. And it says the battery is supposed to last up to and including over a year, depending on use. So
now, since you're the expert in all things AirTag, let me ask you. I have a tile, right?
Yeah.
And I tested it. Inside the house, works great. As soon as I walk to my backyard and I'm out off my Wi-Fi, it becomes a useless piece of plastic. How does it keep track when you're out and about? If you're
That's an excellent question, because Apple has a mesh network of Bluetooth and go to their website. I don't know all this stuff, but
you should know all this stuff.
Sure, I do. Anyway, I sure hope it works better than the tile thing, because every time I have the tile thing in my wallet and I lose my wallet and I go to ping it, the stupid battery is dead. And not only a few months have gone by, so hopefully they have a much better. I mean, we'll see when they come out. I mean, people are already reviewing the things. I think a few review units have already been out.
I'm going to say that more than likely, Jay, that with every iPhone that's out there is probably going to be able to read every Apple tag and relay that information to Apple. Plus, on top of all that, I'm sure that it's going to be either Wi-Fi or cellular enabled or something.
I think it's Bluetooth, but they're doing mesh networking.
So, the thing that's not a new thing. I mean, this is one of these older little tile things, and these utilize the same technology. The idea being that anyone who has a phone with this software for one of these on it essentially becomes a finder. So if I to leave something behind, and there's someone else out there that has the same software for this little thing, it'll send a message back to sort of the main server to say that this device with this particular ID was found at this location. And as you say, it becomes this great big mesh network. The advantage that Apple have over these people with this sort of thing is that whereas this only works when people who actually have the software on their computer on their phone, Apple can actually make every single iOS device part of this mesh network. I assume everyone who has Bluetooth switched on or something like that. And the beauty of that is that that makes it incredibly useful. I mean, if you leave your keys in a particular location and someone with an iPhone happens to walk past it, it'll ping the server to say that this ID is at this location, and then you can jump onto Find My Mac and see exactly where they are based on that location from that other person. And that to me is a really, really valuable part of making these things work well.
Yeah, and a lot of those companies Tracker and all these things, or Tile and all these things also, they've said, hey, we have our own mesh network and all this stuff.
They lack the infrastructure.
But exactly, they don't have as many devices that are, you'd have to install the app. And whenever I used Tracker, I had to make sure the app was launched and it was paired and all this crap. I mean, this is going to do it by itself. It's pretty affordable. And what's nice is they went through all these security details during the keynote, and they were talking about how some of these Tile-like products have an ID key and it doesn't refresh. Well, apparently these Apple encrypted keys. They refresh like every few hours and all this stuff. So it's like, it seems like it's much more secure than the other ones. We'll see, obviously once they get out into the wild. But that network, like Bruce was saying, is very exciting because I think the chance of your item being found and tracked just goes through the roof because you already have this installed base of how many millions of iPhones throughout the world?
Every iPhone running iOS 14, well, probably every iPhone, maybe even running an older version of iOS, is going to. Apple's got the perfect solution. Every iPhone has the Find My app installed. Every single one. It comes with the phone.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, it can't be deleted. I could be wrong. I've never.
Yeah, you can turn it off.
I know you can turn it off, but you can't delete the actual app.
Can't
itself.
remove it, right?
So, right there, they, unlike every other company that has this technology, they already have this huge infrastructure because it's a standard app on their phones. This is another plus side for Apple over Android, and I'm not going to get into that argument. So, so they've already got the infrastructure and the network set up and there's, I don't know how many millions of iPhones, but you're talking every iPhone for probably the last 4 years at least can read this thing and report back.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a 4-pack when they come out. I'm gonna put some of my keys in one of my wallet.
And he's gonna
hopefully they work.
He's gonna put one in my car and see if it actually works like that.
No, I'm gonna put it on a tantalizing item in my basement, and then you're gonna steal that item. I'm gonna be like, that's from my.
You're just gonna put that on. You're just gonna put it on the Apple socks. I know you are.
Yeah. So then when Trina
and then you're gonna be, what is my tag doing in Canada? Oh gosh.
I've got to tell you, I use Find My all the time because we live between two houses. Mm-hmm. And, and I'm like, did I leave my laptop at the farm? Oh, yes, I did. Or, I even use it with the 17-inch MacBook Pros. Is that at the farm or is it at home if I got to start looking at it? So I love the idea of these AirTags. It's awesome.
Yeah, me too. It sounds to me like they will see. Well, we haven't tried them yet, but it sounds to me like they've resolved a lot of the issues I've had with them. Because ever since the tiles and the trackers came out, I've always thought, look, these are just such a great idea. But they've just, I've been the same as Steve. The one time that I actually lose my keys and need to try and find them, or if I have one in my wallet or something like that, and I go to ping it and it's not finding it because the battery's flat or whatever, it's lost the connection or something like that. And, so you've got that one time where it would have actually been used to and it doesn't work. And if they can actually make these a genuinely reliable tool for finding keys and wallets and things like that, then, yeah, absolutely fantastic.
And I'm just thinking the method that I would have to go through for the tile thing. And maybe it was just mine was a piece of crap. I'd have to open my phone. I have to open the app. I have to wait for it to load. I have to wait for it to detect what Bluetooth devices were kind of near it. Then I'd have to tap the button and go, all right, no, wait, hold, wait. If I could just raise my watch and go, where are my keys? And it goes, oh, there they are. And they start pinging. Cool. That's well worth the $29. And my wife would be so happy that I don't ask her where my wallet is or where my keys are or anything. I can just ask my stupid watch and it would tell
where
me.
the car is.
Sean said he's going to eat one so he never loses himself. And I'm thinking, don't ever go eating Mexican food after you have one of these.
All right, so that's about it for the AirTag. So I'm going to move on to some of the little Apple TV tidbits here. So that feature with the Apple TV that they showed off, where you can adjust the color of your screen and everything with your iPhone. So essentially,
that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So essentially, the Apple TV will post-process or adjust the levels of the HDMI output of itself based on what your phone is seeing when you hold up the screen. That is coming to older Apple TV devices as well. So you don't have to buy a new one just for that functionality.
That's cool.
So that'll be a software update. There you go. The new Siri remote could also be used on the older Apple TV devices. You could also purchase it separately. A big miss here, I think, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier offline, is the new remote does not have a U1 chip in it. So you cannot use the Find My iPhone app or Find My app with the new Siri remote, which I'm sure will be filled in on a
just get a bit of double-sided tape and stick in here.
Yeah, I'm sure Belkin is working on a case right now that holds the remote, and there's a little AirTag holster in there for it. And last but not least, apparently Apple Care is now purchasable for the Apple TV. So if you really like to toss your Apple TV around the house, that is now a thing
Jay,
there.
You appear to be muted.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
And then last but not least, there's one note for the Mac Mini. You could actually add on to the M1 Mac Mini, you could add on the 10 gigabit Ethernet option for an extra $100. There you go.
That's cool. I like that.
Fancy.
That's actually kind of impressive. Now, I wonder if they're going to do that for the new iMac.
Maybe that's why it's on a power brick.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah.
It could be.
Like when the higher end ones come out, then you can maybe get the power adapter to work on one of your older
But
ones.
I can see them doing
One
it
of
on the
these.
Mini because the Mini seems to be adopted by more professionals as of late.
Like servers
Since since the new M1 came out, the Mini seems to be better adopted by higher end power users than it used to be in the past, because it was always kind of a weak machine. It was a good machine, but it was a little on the weak side. Now that they've got the good video, especially the video system and everything, I think they're finding it's becoming more adopted by high end power users, and that's probably why they're offering it on the Mini, not the iMac so much. So, but
yeah, I would be surprised if there's USB or Thunderbolt connectivity in that power plug thing around the iMac that they could upgrade this to 10 gigabit down the road.
I guarantee you.
But there's only one port, and according to Grudy, you need at least two to be able to never go offline. So.
No, let's not get into that. So those are all the updates that I had. Mike, back to you. Back to you in the studio, Mike.
Yay! So, yeah, it's
I'm Ron Burgundy.
it's been a wild ride here, so it'll be interesting to see where they're going with all this here in the future. I still say that they're going to have a bigger iMac come out probably at the WWDC conference later this year, and I know everybody's been complaining about, especially the iMac specifically, about all the features it doesn't have, and the fact it's got a small screen, but it's a consumer device. It's geared towards millennials and people under the age of 25. This is the computer you buy your kids. They take to college.
Yeah.
They need something powerful, small, and this is going to be it, you know. For us, we're power users. Every one of us has a Mac Pro, be it an unfortunate, trash can or 5,1s like the rest of us have.
I think that was a dig at Madeleine. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
I mean, I will. I'll give the trash can credit. I mean, it's a good machine because the ports light up, but Apple's still missing some of the marks, especially like with Madeleine was saying. There is no front USB ports on any computer since the 5,1 Mac Pro, and that is very annoying.
Yeah.
So, I have a question for everyone. I'm just interested in people's opinion on this matter. Will Apple ever release an Intel Mac again?
No. I don't think so.
Yes.
I don't see them doing
No.
that.
Well, if they do,
The Mac Pro.
I don't know.
I don't
You
think
think
they're gonna.
so?
I think the Mac Pro will still get a spec bump because there's no way they're going to figure out how to use a monster chassis for a logic board this big.
I could see a spec
No.
bump. I can't see them making a big show out of a new
not a
Intel
brand
Mac.
new
Because-
model. Yes.
Because if think of the keynote, they said, "Oh, it's so much faster than the previous one." They're going to say, "Yeah, here's an Intel i9. It's almost as fast as an M1."
The thing is, I
Yeah.
don't think, apart from Thunderbolt, which is pretty much a direct lane to the processor, how are they going to put an M1 or M whatever comes next in a Mac Pro with support for the PCI lanes and all that expandability? I don't think they can do it yet.
Not yet, at least.
They couldn't add some circuitry. I mean, isn't the Thunderbolt 4 built into the freaking iMac and
Yeah.
Mac Mini? Is it, or whatever version
Well, at
it
least
is?
the
Isn't that
at
direct
least the new
talking
iMac.
to
I don't know
a
about
chip?
the Mini, but
I think they have the same functionality. I just don't remember what freaking number we're up to.
I don't know. It's confusing as all get out. But
Especially when they say Thunderbolt /USB and then there's a number. It's like, where's that number associated with?
I think in terms
Well,
of like an actual brand new Intel Mac, no. I think we're probably going to see, like Jay said, we'll see we're going to do like they did with the 4.1 and 5.1 Mac Pros. We're just going to get a new Mac Pro with basically a better processor.
Well, they've already upgraded half their, what is it, about half their line now? You got your MacBook Pro 13-inch, you got your MacBook Air, the Mac Mini, and now the iMac, at least the entry-level one, are all M1s now. So why would they release maybe a new iMac Pro with an Intel, infrastructure?
They could do the same
when it's
thing.
Going to get outperformed by computers that are lower than it.
Yeah, I mean, they could do the same thing like they did when the G5 came out that ended classic support or booting support for 9, rather. And what they did with that is they just quietly put on their store, they put a G4 tower that was last year's generation that could still boot to OS 9. And that was the whole reason they put it there, because people still need that functionality. I would not be surprised if, after all is said and done, there's still a Mac Mini or an iMac or a Mac Pro with an Intel chip on it that just lingers on Apple's store at a stupid high price just for people who still need it.
Well, that's a very fair point for things like for people who might want to get into boot camp and run Windows on the thing. There's still going to be a demand for people to be able to do that. There could well be a product still, as you say, that may not be heavily promoted, but that just kind of lingers for people who need that compatibility.
Another reason that I think a Mac Pro spec bump is coming is that I believe the latest version of Big Sur Beta 5, whatever they're up to, has support for a bunch of new graphics cards. Well, not new graphics cards, but new to Mac graphics cards. So, it might happen. Personally, I think that Apple cannot wait to get rid of Intel. They would do it yesterday. If it was,
and they can't wait to get rid of NVIDIA and ATI and that little love triangle they've had for years.
Yeah, I think this. Oh yeah, this is our 2-year transition. No, what they're doing is they're going to bring out as many products as they can by the end of the first year or year and a half, and they're going to say, "Hey, look, we did it early," just like they did last.
Apple doesn't like to linger.
I have a feeling that by the end of this year here, every machine in their lineup, except for the Pro, is going to be Apple Silicon based.
Yeah, they'll have at least one model, maybe not both screen sizes or whatever.
I think by the end of the year, the only Intel mainstream machine, is going to be the Pro. So
it could also be that we are not going to see any new Intels, any spec bumps.
It's true,
because everything we've seen right now, every M1 product that has been announced has been alongside their Intel counterpart. They might just keep all the old garbage on the website for 2 years, like Steve said, but only more extreme. Like, we keep an old everything, and after 2 years say, look, we transitioned.
Yeah, and then they have the figures to prove it, say, oh, well, only 50,000 people bought this one. We don't need that on the store.
Yeah, nobody wanted to buy a 2018 Mac Mini in 2025. Weird.
Yeah, and the other thing is too with that, Jay, is part of the reason they might be keeping some of the Intel models around is to use up inventory and to basically fulfill contractual obligations to Intel, because I'm sure they still have a contract with them for a couple of years.
I honestly don't think they give us stuff about their contract
Probably
with Intel.
not,
I reckon they're just happy to pay it out.
Intel probably does, because I can guarantee you Intel is going to really be in a hurt locker once this is all done. I'm sure they're already feeling it. I know that.
Apple would probably, if the contract is there, they would probably break it and say, okay, so we hurt your feelings. Here's $25 billion. And,
here's enough money to buy your own, change your own factory to make it.
They still have to pay,
here's enough money to start developing ARM.
Isn't Thunderbolt an Intel technology? Don't they have to pay a license for that?
I think it's one of these things they came out with that it's like a jointly proposed thing,
like FireWire.
Yeah, but I think that with Intel based Macs, there's still a need for them. I mean, if I was building out an IT department and I wanted everyone to have one machine, I'd probably get them a MacBook Pro because you could do Windows and Mac. That's one machine that could support both systems. Unfortunately, with the M1 Max at this stage, you can't really do that. So who knows?
Thank you, Ron.
Oh, thank you, Ron. Eat.
Hey, this ain't a Mac 84 video.
He got to get the eeps. Fine, I'll give him a quack. Quack.
By the way, the highlight that made the entire 55 some minutes worth it, of course, was the most hideous purple iPhone you've ever seen. Don't you think?
Oh, it's
Now, you know what? I liked it.
Of course you do.
anything to contradict Jay.
And I like the purple iMac, too. I won't go buy one, but I like it.
I figured you would like the green iMac. It looks like vomit.
I think it was.
I like the back of it.
It was Ron that said on Twitter or somebody I saw that said they can't wait for like 15 years down the road when all these iMacs are just in the trash and you collect all the colors.
Yeah. At least they won't take up so much room as the damn
Oh,
iMacs.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. You can have
I've
stacks
got to
of
tell
them.
you, if I bought an iMac right now, or if I bought one of the new M1 iMacs, I'd be buying a silver one.
I
do
was
like
so
the
afraid
silver.
you were going to say
Yeah,
purple.
the silver,
Thank God.
the silver looks really nice. I really want to see them in
Classy.
person. In my mind.
Silver
But I-
would go in just about any room that you can think of
True.
and look nice.
I tend to I tend to sell stuff when I don't use it anymore as well, and I just imagine, if you had this kind of obscure coloured iMac, you'd be excluding 80% of your audience to sell it because
You just need
It's
to
not
wait
the
longer.
right colour
If
for
you
them.
wait
Yeah,
20
until it's
years,
30 years old,
Yeah.
and then it'll be worth a lot of money.
Well, there was
Rare
a
blue
couple.
Dalmatian.
A couple of episodes ago, we were kind of lamenting the fact that none of the current Macs really seem to be collector's items, except for obviously your Mac, your 2019 Mac Pro, and your really high end stuff that's not going to be as common. But these are going to be super common, and I still say, like, you see people right now saying, I want to collect all the G3 iMac colors. Well, good if you have the space, but these are going to be, I think along that vein someday where people are going to say, like, I'd like to have one of every color they come out with. And speaking of the colors, I thought it was really cool. I heard about the rumor that these things were going to be different colors, and I thought, oh, great, we're going to get space gray, we're going to get rose gold, we're going to get, gold satin or some other bull crap color like that. They went back to the original Apple rainbow colors, and I really thought that was a nice little throwback. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah,
Well, people keep giving Apple credit for that. Like, oh, yeah, so well thought out. No, they can't innovate anymore. They didn't have a choice.
that's all the
I'm not saying
innovation.
that's
they need.
innovation. I'm saying that's a nice little throwback. It's kind of a neat thing that they did. I didn't expect to see that.
It's just stealing from the past because you
And
can't
I'm
do better.
all for it.
Although I am thinking, if I want to recreate my display of the puck mice for the new ones, it's going to be a very expensive
You
display.
just need a $10 USB-C to USB-A adapter, and I assure you, if I get an iMac, the first thing I'm plugging into is a damn puck mouse.
Well, just like the G3 iMacs had that horrible multicolored mouse, these new ones have horrible multicolored mice. So kind of stuck with that tradition.
I think I would if I get one, I might just get the trackpad because I have a better chance of wanting to use that than the.
I would totally get the trackpad.
Let me tell you, Magic Mouse, worst investment ever.
They're
This
terrible.
is the crappiest mouse you could possibly get. Do not buy.
Oh, turn it on its back so you can charge it.
Oh, do
Turn it
not
on his
start
back.
I only charge this thing like 4 times a year.
with...
So I mean that's the one thing I do like about it. The battery lasts for flipping ever. Unlike my old.
I would love to find that engineer who put that charge port on the bottom of that mouse, and I would go and poke his eyes out with a stick.
Okay.
Well, the problem
both
is,
like
Madeleine.
that.
I don't
Why?
know if you've ever used one or even seen one. There is no other place to put the stupid thing.
The
It
side.
is so it is so ridiculously tiny and painful to use that I can understand why they put it on the bottom. But if you have to put the charge port on the bottom of the mouse, don't you think the damn thing's just a little too small?
Madeleine, what is your problem with the charge port on the bottom?
Because I get a
Stupid.
message on the screen saying that it's running out of charge, and it's always when I've been sitting here working for 8 or 9 hours, right? And I have to get this mouse out so that I can plug this mouse in.
If you
That's my
plug that
problem.
mouse in when you get a notification, at which point you still have many hours left before you actually run out. You plug it in, you go get a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
10 minutes charge lasts you
But then you
days.
lose your groove.
Yeah,
Oh, come on.
see, you're
It's
asking me
just
to
a
think.
non-argument.
You're
It is.
asking me to think ahead, Jay.
Yes.
Something that would have been really cool is a mouse that's wireless, and when it starts battery goes low, you just plug a cable into it and it charges while you can keep using it.
Yeah.
Exactly,
That's the most
logical
exactly,
thing to do.
Dana. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or you have a mouse mat that's like
Dana
the air-
is a witch. Burn him.
Sorcery.
Or you could have a mouse pad that has like the same technology of the wireless charging on your iPhone, and then when your hand starts to tingle because of all the burning that's going on through the phone, that's when you know it's time to get up and take a break for coffee.
Oh my gosh.
So we had a topic here. We don't need to talk about that. Madeline, do you want Madeline's to tell her story?
Yeah, I'm always down for a Madeline story.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I've got two stories today.
Ooh, story time.
The first story is, we all know that I wrote an article for the website about the MacBook Pro. Here it is. Yeah, I did.
Oh, this
Here
is
it
the one that was out for
It's a brand
repairs.
new top case. Yes.
Nice.
Ooh.
So the thing that I will say is there was no communication for having this device repaired at any point with anybody, and
So the last we heard, they were still debating whether they were going to even fix it, right?
And that was the last I heard as well, until I got a text message from the repairer saying that it was ready to be collected. So, I don't know what's going on there. I was a little disappointed when I spoke to the person on the phone from Apple. She said, sorry, my dog's barking in the background. She
How
said
did
that...
you know your dog was barking?
Oh, you got me there, Bruce. She said that she would immediately email me and let me know what was happening with my claim.
Mm-hmm.
And that email never came, and nor did any other communication whatsoever. So I gather from me emailing a copy of the invoice to both the repairer, who were an Apple authorized repairer, and Apple, that some conversation, or I'm guessing they have some kind of service ticketing system. Something happened there, and it magically got repaired, and I received a text message a week later. I don't. The thing about all of these new Apple products and all of this stuff is I see a lot of Apple bashing in social media, and I'm not really a fan. Like, I'm a bit of a fangirl, as you can imagine. I own a couple of hundred of their machines. Like,
You are a guest on the wrong show.
But a lot of bashing goes on, and and I understand it in some respects, and then in other respects, like just this last week, I've seen a lot of people posting a lot of negative stuff about the new iMacs, and I'm just thinking, I just don't like it. I don't like a lot of the negativity that comes through product releases on social media. It's just not warranted. But this situation with this service situation really had me quite annoyed. Not having any communication, not knowing what's going on. And because I didn't have any communication, I wasn't going to contact them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's not a device that I need to use every day. I probably do, touch it most days. But I've got plenty of other laptops that I can use, so I could afford to sit back and see what happened, and that's what I wanted to do. So yes, I'm very happy that it's been repaired, and I'm happy that I've got a brand new top case, and that's all great. But the service experience wasn't the best.
Now, did did you reach out to them and say, look, you promised me you'd get back to me, and then all of a sudden it was fixed? Like, there's a communication problem here, you need to resolve it? Or
I did talk to the authorised repairer when I turned up, and they said, yeah, we read your article.
nice.
So I'm guessing somebody in that store is, possibly a member of the number of groups that I posted it to. And we had a conversation about it. And I was kind of thrilled that, it's repaired and everything was good. So I didn't have a very big whinge. I just said, look, communication during this process hasn't been great, and it would have been good if somebody had have contacted me and said, oh, we're going to repair it now.
Yeah.
Are you going to write a follow-up article?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
Are you going to write a follow-up article?
Yeah, I think I have to, because because that initial article is pretty harsh, and and it's kind of pointing towards it's pointing towards it not being repaired, and so yes, I'm going to write a follow-up.
That repair shop is probably refreshing 20 times a day, looking for a follow-up. Like, okay, we did good.
Yeah, I think that's the most painful thing during any process where you're without a device. And obviously you have a different machine you could use, but you put yourself in someone else's shoes. This is their daily driver. This is the only machine that they have to do this work. And you're trusting a repair place to get right on it, to have all the records of your machine, and you're sitting there for a week or 2 or 3 or a month, and without any communication. I would have been livid if this was your only machine. You would have made many more calls to them, I'm sure. But it's just one of these things where you're in the type of a situation where, like, you're just happy it got fixed. But if somebody was requiring this machine and they just were left in the dark about it, I could totally see that person just having a terrible negative experience and just blowing up every social media outlet they have, going on how terrible it was. And obviously that's where Apple gets a lot of bad press, when things fall through the cracks and such.
So Apple still have an incredibly high customer satisfaction rating. It's higher than a lot of other manufacturers out there. According to them, I know. Yeah. So does anyone know what that is gauged upon? Because we hear a lot of these complaints, but look, I'm sure that we hear very Mac-related complaints. I'm sure there are plenty of complaints about all the other manufacturers out there as well. Is this simply this customer satisfaction information that they provide us? Do you think it is just fabricated, or
I think it's coming
timed wrong.
I think it's also coming from a lot of sources, because I bought an iPhone a few years ago and I got a message, like an email from Apple. Oh, how are you enjoying your device? Or it was like a survey. I've never gotten one of those before. I'm sure that information is collected via methods like that of, oh, you have your phone for 90 days. How you like it so far? Oh, yeah.
And if there's one thing that's actually, increased over the last year for obvious reasons, it's user surveys being sent out. We were talking about Skype. You end a Skype call, and all of a sudden it's like, how did you rate this call? It's like, I don't. Go away.
Yeah, but the surveys for your Apple products, like when I got my phone, when I got my watch, the survey got there the day the product was delivered to me. Or the day I activated it. The customer satisfaction isn't gauged at the Genius Bar, believe me. It is gauged at, oh, you got a survey. You're so happy you got your brand new phone or iPad or whatever. Oh, yeah, I'm so happy with it. And that is it. They don't send you that survey a year into it, because the chance of getting bad feedback is like 80% higher or something.
But so it's such an important part of any form of customer satisfaction. It has to include how they deal with problems. If you're not finding out information about how a company, it's like an insurance company. You can find out this is the insurance company that has the cheapest the cheapest rates. Oh, that's great, but they never pay out on it. The customer satisfaction isn't just like on one thing. It's got to be on the other things as well. Right. It has to extend to how they deal with, you know, how they deal with returns, how they deal with failures, how they deal with, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Because they keep these metrics for example, the Genius Bar or online support. They keep these metrics, but those are not the metrics they reference.
Oh, of course.
When they say, "Oh, we're so highly rated."
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
they're gonna take the best customer facing metrics that they have, and that
Yep.
should be what they should. And
Because
that's
you
just
have
Same
standard market.
stupid thing with the new iMac. We had this dude running around in the lab. I'm not just gonna say this is the best speaker, but this is the best speaker in an iMac ever. And he did that 3 times, I think, in the same speech. It's
Well,
the best
he said,
microphone,
yeah.
the best speaker, the best audio experience, the best,
best
this,
camera and all.
We're
Yes,
proud of
it
that
should
speaker.
be. It's a brand new damn product. Would you make it worse? No, of
I mean,
course not.
surely companies that are providing, you know, what should be impartial information about different providers, they're not just going to publish stuff that Apple gives them. Surely they are doing their own research and surveys. I mean, when you're looking at some of these, you know, tech articles and stuff that talk about customer satisfaction and that, they're not just going to print what Apple give them and say that's gospel. Surely, I mean, that makes them pretty lousy.
You think people actually still do
researchers.
journalism and their own research and stuff?
Well, maybe 1 or 2 of them do.
Nah.
Plus, you have to take into
You know,
account.
I mean, but you see my point. I mean, if you are going to read an independent article, if they're just going to publish what Apple is telling them, it you know, totally takes away their credibility. You know what I mean?
For some services, I do believe that. Like if you go to a random website that has 10 things that are good about, or those comparison website, which is pretty much all generated from, you know, data that can be scraped. I don't believe that for a second. If you have here in America, there's a website / service called Consumer Reports. You pay for that. You pay them to get the best possible information. They do their own research, their own tests, and all that kind of stuff.
We have a publication called Choice here in Australia, which is the same thing.
Yeah, I would believe them over any of the 50 or 500 websites that just scrape data from random sources.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about things like, you know, what PC World, or was it ZNet, ZDNet, you know, that lot, where they are theoretically meant to be providing information to help tech people out there make decisions about what they want to buy and that sort of stuff. Yeah, and again, I mean, I don't know, you know, sort of they're getting sort of money from these providers or what, but you would you hope that those sorts of publications, those sorts of tech-based publications, are doing their own research.
You would hope, but I forgot the product I was looking for. Let's say I'm looking for a mouse. I go to DuckDuckGo. I type in best mouse 2021, and any kind of consumer comparison website you find, they just scrape Amazon reviews. Like, oh, well, this mouse is said to be very good and very clicky, but people have also said this and this. Click here to buy it. You go there, and that's exactly what you see in the reviews. They just scrape it. Like, okay, you did your research. Not.
Yeah.
So, with Apple, I think Apple removed a few products from their page last year. I think it was some kind of dongle or something that had so many bad reviews they just deleted it. And the same thing they do on the forums. If you go on the Apple forums and you say Apple can get malware, it gets deleted. You know, or hey, I can do a board repair, it gets deleted. They strictly censor any kind of negative information that
If you say Hackintosh, they deleted it.
Or if you post a link on a YouTube chat, it gets deleted.
Yep.
Okay.
Moderators.
There's homework for everyone in the chat. They got to go and put one of those things that we just mentioned, into one of the forums and see what happens.
Yes, and see how long it stays there. Absolutely.
Type it backwards and upside down like Ron just did.
He's being fancy. Oh boy. All right. Mike?
Wasn't there a second story?
I think we're just about out of time, aren't we? We're over time. Goodness me, look at us.
We're over time.
Well, to be fair, Dave arrived 10 minutes ago, so we should have stopped then.
Well,
maybe we'll
next
save
week,
the
Dave,
second
next
story
week.
for next week.
Yeah, Madeleine will be
next
back
week.
next week, so we can move it to then.
Yay!
So in the interest of time constraints, we're just going to go to shameless self promotion. so that basically Steve and I can just inform the entire world that we are going to take Sean from Action Retro hostage, tie him up with duct tape and zip ties, throw him in the back of a Chrysler minivan, and drive him to the darkest, dankest place of Trenton, New Jersey, and drop him off after we take his wallet so we have his address, and go take his Quadra 700. So if Sean is watching, I guarantee you there's going to be hell to pay on Saturday.
I am in full support of this plan. Good luck.
But
Tie him up with a string of RGB lights, though.
oh, okay,
Steve,
yeah, that'd be good. I should do that. I'm sure he's got a roll
Steve,
everywhere he
grab the
goes.
cursed mic for me.
Oh, grab the cursed Mac for you.
Yes.
So
And then I'll take out the upgrade card that he got for it, and then you can have the cursed Mac back.
oh
I think
my God.
I think Sean's gonna be like dressed up with a hoodie and like mustache and everything.
Sean's gonna come armed just in case.
Well, Sean does live in Philadelphia, so I can guarantee he's probably armed already.
In his own house.
Probably.
Yeah, that Quadra, if it's removed from the room, all sorts of bells go off.
But in case anybody hasn't gathered, Steve and I are getting together this weekend. We're going to the Vintage Computer Festival's swap meet in Wall, New Jersey on Saturday. And I'm going to spend all of Steve's money and make sure he can't
Wait a second.
and make sure
I
that
didn't
he
agree to
can't
this.
buy a new air conditioner that he so desperately needs. Yes, we're going to go to the Vintage Computer Festival's swap meet that they didn't have earlier this year, and it's only a couple hours long, so I think it ends at 2:00. And
Yeah.
I must thank Trina for informing us of this because neither one of us actually knew about it.
Yeah, I remember the one last year. I figured.
How does the Canadian know when you guys don't?
Well, she's smart, and so they had it like on a weekend a few years ago, and or whenever it was. And I figured I knew it was happening, but I completely forgot about it. And then like an hour before the last event closed or whatever, that's when I realized, oh wait, it's going on today. I'm like, ah, damn! It was only like a half hour away from me. But, so I am very excited to do that. Mike and I will probably take pictures of any goodies that we find. I know at least there's one individual there that is posted on one of the groups, and he has like an X-Serve and a few Mac Minis and stuff. And I don't know if I'd pick up anything of that regard, but exciting to know that there's going to be at least one thing that Mike and I will be like, ooh, pretty Apple logo. You know.
Shiny.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to shoot a little bit of video, just for that.
I was just gonna ask.
And I just got a new phone, so
Probably. You better.
If I had a GoPro,
I think
stack it
between
on my head.
that phone and my old phone, because my old phone still works, I think I'll probably try to shoot some video. I mean, I'm not going to video the whole thing, but if I see something worthwhile, I was thinking maybe do like a LGR thrift style video or something, and just see Steve and I drool over a Mac 512, and then start seeing us fight over it.
I could get a head mount for a GoPro for $20 shipped here by Saturday.
Oh,
I was
Lord.
about to say, as long as you put a GoPro in the trunk so we can see Sean squirm, I'm cool.
I've him tried to escape.
So, and then afterwards, we're going over to Steve's place. Obviously, I mean, I'm not driving to New Jersey without going to Steve's house. I mean, I got to see the rabbits and
For tea and crumpets.
and steal iPod socks. But
I'm having a recapping party.
yeah, and
Or pizza and beer.
I do believe that Sean might be joining us. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be fun. But anyway, we'll share pictures
Yes.
and junk. Whenever that happens.
We know Dana's not going to do nothing. Jay's not going to clean his desk. Bruce is probably going to recap a bunch of crap, and Madeline's going to enjoy life down under. So, what else is there to say?
That's about it.
I did a video on an iMac, but probably everybody saw it already. So there you go.
If you haven't seen Steve's iMac video, I don't know what you're doing. Like, you shouldn't even be here if you're not watching his video, for crying out loud.
It's one of my best performing videos, and I did it on a whim. So yay!
There you go.
And Mike did that PowerBook 150 video, which I never realized it was lacking in so many ports.
Yeah.
It's very lacking in so many ways. Trust me. For the time it was
I wanna
introduced,
crack
it was
open-
very lacking. It was the MacBook Pro of 1994, I think.
I want to crack my broken one open and just see if there are solder points for an ADB port.
Was the 12-inch MacBook? Right.
Yeah.
So what's up with you,
If you
Bruce?
had, asked me what order that came out in, I would have said, well, it came out right after the 145. But no, it came out after the 500 series, which was far superior in every way. So
what's Bruce up to?
That.
Besides staring into the nothingness.
Who?
What?
I think he's got us muted.
What?
We're saying, what are you up to?
What am I up to? Oh, nothing.
Right,
are you talking about shameless self-promotion, or why am I actually staring at the screen?
Well, I know why you're staring at the screen. You're probably doing work, but no.
Yeah. This is true, because we do have to keep in mind that it is,
Yeah, it's the middle of the day for you.
Quarter to 12 on a Friday here. It's coming up for lunchtime, and
it's almost
I do
wine
actually
time.
have.
No, we were wondering if you had
Almost.
anything you wanted to shamelessly self-promote.
I thought you already did it. Didn't you say I was going to recap a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, but are you going to do it live, or are you just going
yeah, look,
are you going to do
I
it?
am actually
Are you
going to
do a live
recapping
stream?
a bunch of stuff. I will probably live stream during the weekend. I may even live stream today. We'll just see what happens. So,
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that I have anything usually to report for shameless self-promotion. But Mike was completely right. I will not be cleaning my office. In fact, I won't even be touching any type of computer. I'm having a blast in the garage trying to fix up a few lawnmowers. So I'll be doing that.
Tractor.
That too.
How about Madeleine? Are you doing anything special?
I've still got an Apple III that I'm repairing, which is a bit of a mission. And I'm toying with my Lisa at the moment. I've got a SCSI card for it.
Yay.
So, so I'm getting it to boot from the SCSI card, as well as the I've got an X profile in it, which is great. But I just want the option to put SCSI hard drives in it. So
That's pretty cool.
I'll be doing that over the weekend.
Nice.
Don't forget, Madeleine writes for the MacYak website, so make sure you
Mike,
check that out.
Dave has some sage advice for you. Try not to get hit by a truck this weekend.
I will try my damnedest.
I'll make sure it doesn't happen, or if it does happen, at least I'll get it on video.
Knowing my luck, I'm probably going to end up getting backed over by some bald guy driving a 2008 Chrysler minivan.
Where's Mike? What?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, because that model does not have backup sensors.
Found
It
him.
has the backup camera.
It doesn't have a backup camera.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. That thing barely has a radio.
That's a pretty good radio.
God.
I don't know. It's my wife's car. Don't.
Oh. So
Anyway,
that
Madeleine, they're asking if you're going to live stream your Lisa repairs.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to live stream anything. They're out of the farm, and so I do half of my work out at the farm and half here, but they're out of the farm, and I'm just not set up for anything out there. So it might happen in the future, it might not.
All right, cool. Good show.
It will.
Oh well.
So at that point, we're going to say if you're into Discord, you can join us on Discord.
I'd paste a link.
The link is on the screen. I don't have the fancy graphics that the other person has, so I got to make do with what I got.
You got way
here.
fancier
The
graphics.
other
They're
person.
custom made.
Yeah, I
We're not even
actually
allowed to
like
mention
this
him by
better
name
anyway.
anymore.
The other person now.
He must be
gone.
who not may be made.
I like this one better actually because it doesn't go over the middle of everyone's faces. So,
Yeah.
but on that note, so you can join us on Discord. I'm not a Discord user, but most of the other guys are. So, if you're into Discord, stop in there. There's a lot of good stuff going on there, from what I understand, and from what little bit I've seen. And both Steve and Jay have posted a link in the description. I'm sure that the Google bot will probably delete Jay's.
Let's see if Google takes those down.
So
Now it's just gonna ban Jay just for that.
I don't
Right,
care.
It is. It's taking them down.
Yours was gone first.
oh, Steve's got taken
the hell,
down. Now,
Google?
they both got taken down. Oh, what the heck? I have to find out what's going on there. That's annoying. Google is
on
love.
there.
Google.
That's the live chat thing. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, especially with we're moderators too.
Quick,
So.
everybody click the second one.
Yeah.
Click it
Oh,
while
well.
you can.
So
Let's end this show before it bans all of
yeah.
us.
Anyway, so on that note, we're going to say,
Should be back this time next week.
yeah, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you all later.
Bye.
Uh-huh.